In today's video, we'll be looking at animal makeup. My model for today is Sammie, and my name is Ricky Greenwell. So animal makeup I treat a little bit differently than I do a standard makeup in the sense that for this application, I'm actually utilizing some face and body paint to work with my makeup as opposed to using cream product. Here I'm using a cake product. In particular, I'm just using some Wolf Brother, some of my favorite face paints for makeup. And I'm starting off, I'm going to be doing a tiger look on Sammie today. Here I'm using a cellulose sponge to apply the color. So these paints can be used either using paintbrushes. You can use sponges, but you can't use your traditional makeup sponge or like a beauty blender when you're working with these cake products. You need a cellulose sponge or a sponge that is not going to soak up all the makeup so that you can actually apply. So you may need to do a test of your sponge when working with face and body paints. And one thing that you need to do or work with is I'm starting with my white layer and I'm kind of figuring out or basing the areas of the skin. So I'm trying to figure out where that muzzle is going to be. I'm working into the eye area. I am working from a face chart, so I have a general idea of what I want, and this is where our mood boards or inspiration boards are going to come in really handy so that I can actually have a visual reference of what these tigers are actually looking like. Now my next step is to simply go in and lay my base orange color or my tiger tone for the face. And one thing you're going to notice that I'm doing a patting or dabbing motion to make sure that I'm pressing product into the skin or pressing makeup into the skin. So I'm not using a dragging motion, but more of a patting, tapping motion to push product onto the skin. What is a wonderful feature of these face and body paints is because they're water activated and water based, it's a great product, very much kind of like to a certain degree like working with a watercolor. You can blend colors really easily. You can blend colors either in a pot or directly on the face itself. Now I'm going through and just adding a bit of a texture color, a golden tone or a tannish tone just to give me some variation of my colors. Now I'm utilizing just a large flat brush. I'm starting to paint in some details to the face. So just starting to develop and make shape of the muzzle of the tiger. And here I'm just using a long detail brush or a liner brush to start to give shape definition to the eyes. And if you notice, I'm resting my pinky on Sammie's cheek or resting it slightly on her face as I'm working. This will help give me stability in my brush work. So here I'm just using my palette to dry. Because this is water-based makeup, you do have to have a bit of patience if you make your product a little too wet. I'm connecting the under eye area. Now I'm taking an orange stipple sponge and utilizing that same black color just to start to create the spots or some texture within my makeup application. I'm going back in with some white product to fill areas of the face that I had left empty. Now I'm grabbing a pink tone and starting to work on the nose. One thing that you need to do when working with animal makeup is to think about the route that you're going to map the animal's face to your facial features. Sometimes their nose may be in a different position than yours, or the mouth may not necessarily perfectly align with your mouth. So if you're going to be doing animal makeup, some of the questions you have to ask is, what is the purpose of your animal makeup? Many instances I use animal makeup in theatrical experiences. Say you're doing a production of cats, that becomes a very stylized cat. Or if you're doing animal makeup for children's theater, you have to take into consideration some features that could be read from a fairly large stage perspective. Or are you simply doing animal makeup in the proviso of doing face painting for large groups or events? Are you going to have a career as a face painter and work on developing characters that could be reproduced fairly easily? So here I'm just taking my black utilizing that same liner brush to define and outline the nose. One of the things that happens frequently in body painting is just characteristically or artistically working through and defining shapes. So paying attention to highlight and shadow to develop shape and contour. Now I'm just starting to work with my detail brush just to start to bring out those tiger stripes within the makeup application. And I'm looking for irregular organic shapes to occur. So just utilizing the references that you're seeing, and a matter of kind of creating the illusion or that transferring the animal to the face itself. After I've created my line work, I'm now going in and reinforcing the muzzle shape or the mouth shape to Sammie's face. So here you can see that I'm actually painting a fairly large upper lip to reflect the nature of the face of the animal. Now I'm going in and doing lip detail work. And now I'm going in with a brush. This is a foundation brush that has a point to it, and just creating some various irregular brush strokes to create texture within fur-like texture onto the face. I think one helpful tip, or what will help make your makeup a little bit more successful, is just that variation of texture. Either doing it via brush strokes or having like sponges that you can cut to create a textured sponge, either a stipple sponge or a texture sponge. Whatever seems to give you that best quality. There is no single right answer for that, but if you look at animals and have a fur-like texture, there is an element of flatness that comes about in painting with like body paints. So the nice thing about them being water-based is you get the ability to easily blend. You can blend with your fingers, you can blend with brushes, or you can blend with sponges. So it's a nice quality, even if it's in a dry side. You can just add a little bit of water and reactivate the product fairly easily. With that being said, you can use activators. I have used these products on stage for years now, and some people have concerns with stage lighting, if you just simply set your makeup utilizing like a face spray or a setting spray, this will stay in place. And I've had many an actor work through a sweaty dance show and not have any problems with makeup running. Now I'm just adding a little bit more texture to the lid area itself. There were areas that I didn't fully paint on Sammie's skin, but that's okay in my opinion for this particular application because I want that irregularity. And I'm just kind of stamping in some texture to give that irregularity or to help give that illusion of the fur texture. And I'm not worrying about Sammie's brow that's coming through. Here you can see that I'm just going through and adding just a little bit of texture in a irregular fashion, and now the brow just becomes an accent or gives me even slightly more natural appearance and works its way into the makeup application. Just starting to add a little bit more of color variation or texture on top of everything. Here I might utilize a mid-tone. I might grab a highlight if I'm wanting to see a little bit of a highlight tone. Just thinking about taking a moment, maybe if you're doing this makeup application on yourself, taking a moment to squint and see if it's too blocky, where could I add a little bit more texture for a more dynamic application. And here I'm just working with adding some white brush and detail just to give that illusion, that whisker-like quality to the application. And bringing more texture to Sammie's lid area. And here we have our finished makeup application. It's my hope that you learned something with me today. And remember, if you believe it's possible, you can make it possible.